Well, welcome everybody. It's great to have you all here today. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Corliss.
Here.
Halliburton. Morales.
Here.
Nash.
Here.
Stead.
Here.
Willard. 4 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. We've got a busy agenda today, but first up is Bonnie Shelton. Thanks for the work today at C.W. Moore Park, that celebration. And you're here to talk about Float to Boise. Nope. It will be on in a second. Try again.
Check, check. Oh,
Yep.
It's live. Yes, great to see many of you again. We had a great park dedication this morning, and I hope everyone can go check out that refreshed space. It looks awesome at CW Moore Park. But today I'm here to give you a quick season update for Float the Boise. We are in our 4th year of our partnership and have just been making strides every year to increase information about safety and create a one-stop shop for people as they prepare to float the river. So I'm happy to share with you some updates and then stand for questions if needed. First, just a refresher, we have kind of 3 main agencies who are a part of this partnership, and then I'll show you the broad group of people who are also involved, who we couldn't do this without. Ada County Parks and Waterways, Boise Parks and Recreation, and Boise Fire. Of course, Ada County oversees Barber Park and the put-in area and helps coordinate all the rentals and the shuttles. Boise Parks and Recreation, we oversee the takeout in Ann Morrison Park, trash removal along the Greenbelt and at the takeout, and just various needs throughout the season. And then Boise Fire is, of course, a very important partner from the emergency response and safety side. They have the dive team that's out on the water and help with response to incidents throughout the season and throughout the year, to be honest. We, as a group, start meeting formally, usually early May, to start talking about the season, recap anything from the year before, and then plan for the future, kind of what the next few months will look like. I think honestly, the best part of this formal partnership is that we have great relationships with Bureau of Reclamation, Idaho Department of Water Resources, and the Army Corps of Engineers, who are honestly joining our calls every week, giving us up-to-the-minute updates on what the dam releases are going to look like, what they're seeing from a snowmelt perspective, irrigation demand, so we can really work together to try and find that sweet spot for opening the float season. We've been getting weekly updates from them. I have to give Peter Cooper with the Bureau of Reclamation a shout out. He's been a great resource for us. We just had a meeting today to kind of talk about what things are looking like. So I'll share with you what we heard in a couple minutes on the next slide. But this group really does a lot of hard work, of course, during the float season, but in preparation and afterwards. 2024 season in review. Last year was a successful season on the river. More than 150,000 people, it's estimated, floated that 6-mile stretch from Barber Park to Ann Morrison Park, which is right on par with what we've seen in recent years. 68 days of the official float season. Just to remind everyone, we opened on June 27th last year. So we're at June 10th today. So we're getting kind of close to that time. We had more than 47,000 shuttle rides, 41,000 hits to floattheboise.org, which is that new one-stop shop resource that we created when we formalized this partnership, and 41 calls for service to Boise Fire. That was a little bit of an uptick over the prior year, but much, much lower than that really crazy season where we had high flows that really pushed for this partnership to be created so we could improve safety on the river. And again, just kind of an overview on floattheboise.org if you haven't been on that site in a while. We average 400 users daily, so it's definitely a resource people are finding and using. We have an interactive hazard map that Joanna Zibble with the GIS team in Boise Fire helped create. Guided tour, current river conditions are updated on there. We're right around 1,200 CFS today. And we've also been working with Ada County to include water temperature, because we get that question a lot. How cold is the Boise River? And obviously, if you fall off your raft and into the water, you'll understand it's cold. We have a safety checklist. So obviously when people are new to Boise or they're visiting, that's questions we get a lot. What do I need to float? How can I do this safely? So we have kind of an FAQ and one-stop shop there. And then we also added some new safety videos. Over this last season, we shot 3 videos. One is kind of a floater point of view perspective on the water of the full float for people that have never done it or haven't done it in a long time. It's a great resource to see those 3 drops and the different S curves and things that you'll encounter. And then just a general safety video, know before you go, with information. And we also shot a drone video that shows the entire river float from above, which is a pretty cool feature. We got those requests years ago, just asking how can we see the water? How can we see the float? So glad to have those up and running for this year. And then parking and rental information. Ada County has launched a new Floater Hub webpage that utilizes data where you can see the parking percentage that's full at Barber Park. They have a camera that's counting real time how many people are getting into the water, which is a new feature. So hopefully giving us some better data on exactly how many people are floating during the season. And we're incorporating that with everything
Bonnie?
else. Oh, yes.
Madam Mayor, thanks, Bonnie. I just had one question. Is the Ada County parking information incorporated into the Boise website, or is it is it a separate web page?
It's a separate page that they've built with their data that we're linking to from Float the Boise.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And again, Floater FAQ, we get common questions every year, so we've put that in one place that's easy to find. Communications tool. This was kind of our launch when we started Float the Boise. We created an Instagram to go along with the Facebook page that had been well established. This is really that 24 to 35 age group that we're usually trying to target with the information about floating and safety. And it's been a great resource for people visiting the city too. We get a lot of questions about when the shuttles operate and how people can find more information. So it's been a great way to connect with the community, share stories and safety information, but also just the fun of this summer tradition. And then we coordinate with news media, sending news releases, river condition updates, and really utilizing that partnership to help get the word out if there's a tree that falls and there's blockage in the river, if there's a flow change. Really, it allows us to be flexible through our weekly meetings, sharing information with the public. And again, I mentioned those new video assets. We also got new photos that show people utilizing life jackets, floating the way that we recommend, following all the rules, and just really trying to beef up our photo and video library for the communications and marketing that we do. So let's talk 2025. The big question is, when will the float season start? Currently don't have an opening date. We actually just met as a group today because things have remained really dynamic. We've had hot weather. There's potential for storms sometimes that can change flow releases and things like that. Right now, water managers have told us that they're pretty sure they're going to be staying around this 1,200 CFS flow for a while. Again, that could change if we got a big storm or something happened where they needed to change that flow. But that is within kind of our 1,500 and below flow range where the partnership generally feels comfortable opening the float season. However, hazard assessment and mitigation by Boise Fire is still ongoing. So that process, we keep in close touch with our Boise Fire team. Several of them are here today. But really just making sure that snags are removed and we're following that permitting process with our partners at IDWR and Fish and Game to make sure that we're removing those properly and keeping everybody in the loop so that we can keep people safe while also maintaining other recreation opportunities that people enjoy on the river. So promoting fish and the environment and making sure that we're kind of weighing all of those different responsibilities. And then preparations are underway for floater services to ramp up when the season does start. So as we get toward the end of the month, Boise River Raft and Tube, they've been training staff, they're ready to go. You'll see that contract on council agenda tonight for approval. And then we generally look for prolonged higher temperatures without large swings because, again, the water is about 50 degrees. So having people out there and making sure that they're going to be safe when they're floating, the weather does play a role in that final decision making as well. Safety on the river, obviously this is our big focus. We want to make sure that people have all the tools they need to have a successful float. Our big focus on messaging is really going to be around life jackets. It is every year, but we really want to do more content and messaging around this. 14 and under on the water, you need to have a life jacket on, and we recommend it for anyone who's floating. This is a wild, scenic river. Hazards can change at any time, and we want to make sure that you're having as safe a float as possible. I mentioned the Boise Fire Dive Team. They are a huge part of this with their boat and their staff on the water. They're that visible presence and, of course, responding to any emergencies that happen. So really, we work to try and support them, make sure they have what they need. And they are a huge part of this every year. And then a new thing that's going to be going on this year that hasn't happened for the last several years is Boise Police will be collaborating with the Ada County Sheriff's Office Marine Division to do some regular presence on the water and be talking to people about not drinking and floating, making sure that they're wearing those life jackets if they need them, talking to them about how to have a safe float, and really thanking people for having that recreation top of mind. So they've planned a couple days really throughout the summer to collaborate on that effort and work together, which is great. And we'll be promoting that through our communications as well. And last but not least, additional resources. I mentioned the takeout. We've got our staffing and our trash removal and really servicing ready to go when the season does open and we have that kind of group decision that we're ready to open. And then community forestry, who I know you heard from last week from our forester, Mike Andrews. They often get called out with Boise Fire to help with trees that fall down. They really are a huge assist in that effort. And so we're grateful for them and they'll continue to do that. And then, as I mentioned, ongoing communications and marketing support. This is an annual kind of event campaign that people look forward to, but every year it's just a little bit different. Different river flows, different conditions. So we really do keep those weekly meetings so we can stay on top of what our crews are seeing, what the rental office is seeing, and communicate as a team with all of those partners that I mentioned. And that's all I have.
Madam Mayor. Thanks so much, Bonnie. I don't have any questions, but wanted to just comment that I think this is such a great amenity that we can offer to our residents, and I appreciate all the information and all the work that goes into making it safe and accessible for folks. I also appreciate the life jacket push. I think that's really important to remind people. It's sort of like wearing a seatbelt, right? Like you could drive around the block without one, you'd probably be okay, but it's just a really easy way to prevent a catastrophe. So I appreciate that messaging this year. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, a few comments as well. Bonnie, thank you so much. I think there are probably tons of people watching this on Zoom right now hoping for breaking news. But I think that if you look over the past 3 years, it's usually been that last weekend in June. So trying to tell all those around me to be patient. This is one of those things we, in my day job, we have visiting research students from universities all over the country. And this is like the thing that I tell them they have to do. And so really appreciate this resource. And I really want to call out the floattheboise.org interactive map, because for someone that maybe isn't used to floating for the first time or just a refresher, you can actually look at that map and you can see all the different potential hazards. And one of the things that I think trips up a lot of people is which side of the channel to stay on when you get to those islands. It notes those and stuff. And so I think that's just such a really good resource I'd point people towards when it does open up to just review and refresh. I'd also just, in terms of parking, I know we saw a drone video from Ada County last year, I think it was, that showed the parking lot, which is also all that grass lot fill up at Barber Park. And I would just, I'm sure the county appreciates the revenues that come from that, but Ann Morrison parking is really pretty great. And just pro tip for me, getting off the river, having a cooler full of drinks and food in your car to go to and not having to take the shuttle back is the best. So just a pitch for that. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Morales. I would also recommend this. One of the new videos that we created, that point of view float, actually has tips on how to approach the different drops and rapids that you encounter, information about low-hanging branches. We really worked with the fire team, Ada County, all of our partners to make sure that it had the best information and is more of a easy to watch experience that people would look for on social media or things like that. So heard, and we will continue to work on ways to do that.
Thank you. All right. And next up, welcome, Doug. Doug is going to review the expenditures from our Clean Water and Open Space Levy account.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, council members.
And
Thank
I
you
shouldn't just
for,
say expenditures, all the advancements we've made in setting aside land for generations with the levy fund.
sorry to interrupt you, Madam Mayor, but yes, this is this is an enjoyable presentation because it really is, it paints, actually a little bittersweet, I would say, Madam Mayor, in that it paints a great picture of how great stewards you've been of this funding, both in terms of, if we go all the way back to 2001 to when the most recent 2015 levy. And when I say bittersweet, because as you're all aware, we're winding it down. I mean, we're down to, and I'll have a slide that will discuss that, but a lot of great things have happened, but we're down to around our last $1 million in this current levy. So a lot of good things, though, Madam Mayor, council members, has come from this levy. Just a quick background refresher. The latest levy was in 2015 for $10 million. The language is essentially to support preservation of open space and habitat and clean water improvement projects, both in the Boise foothills, Boise River, as well as open spaces throughout the city. It passed overwhelmingly at 74%. And at the same time as that 2015 levy passed, there also was the established Open Space and Clean Water Advisory Committee that was formed. There are 9 members of that committee that acts as that in an advisory capacity to the mayor and council to recommend projects and any potential acquisitions to you all. This is just a couple of the project pictures of a few of the projects that have come out of this levy over the last 10 years. I'd highlight that Hawkins Range Reserve. That probably is one of the bigger home runs we have made in the foothills. From the standpoint of, we not only use levy funding to create the trail system, but we also use levy funding to create the trailhead at that location as well. And on the far right there, that was one of the latest acquisitions that Madam Mayor, council members, you all approved. That's our Fry Street Park acquisition, which is off of Northview and bordered by Fairview in an area that we had determined was a high need for our 10-minute walk initiative. So this is one of the best slides in this whole presentation, in that we've preserved almost 1,800 acres since that 2015 levy, which is amazing, all in the Boise foothills. We've also utilized the funding to acquire park space down in the flatland. And you see those 3 parcels that we have purchased over the last 3 years: Shamrock, Welford, and Fry Street. All of these park properties, again, are strategically located in areas where we have our 10-minute walk deserts. So these are amazing purchases. They're land banked, and at some point down the road, we'll work with the neighborhoods to create master plans for these sites, and at some point they'll be developed. But the important piece, and I'm not saying anything new to you, Madam Mayor or council members, but dirt is hard to come by in this community. And so the fact this levy has allowed us to purchase these 3 properties in the last 3 years is going to serve major dividends to neighborhoods that these park properties are located in. So between the 2001 and 2015 levy, we have, and if you just did quick math, it's probably somewhere around $19 million that we have spent, and we have leveraged that into $43 million of estimated market value. So, and that market value, we make that determination at the time we purchase the property. So you're looking at stuff that's happened from 24 years up to today. If we use today's market value, you all can guess what 43 million is probably worth today. So I doubt it's 43 million. It's probably north of 60 million, could be $70 million worth of assets that we've been able to preserve, with what is about 19 million as we sit today in total expenditures. This other bullet point is also real important because we've been able to utilize the levy funding to help increase our 10-minute walk initiative. And we've added 10,000 residents to the 10-minute walk in the last 5 years, just through the last 5 years through the levy investments, which is pretty amazing as well. So these are the improvement projects. And again, there's two different concepts we utilize the levy for: acquisitions, both in the foothills and also down in what we refer to as the flatland. But we also have improvement projects that this levy has funded. And I won't go through this entire list, but you can see a couple of those that have really are going to change, be game changers in the dynamic of what we're doing here in the city of Boise. Peasley Street connection, we're getting rave reviews about how that has opened up that connection between Crescent Rim and Ann Morrison Park. We just dedicated the Settlers Canal Path. I believe that was 3 weeks ago. So that came from levy funding as well. We do have the Cartwright Trailhead improvements that'll hopefully begin this fall. And then I just would point out that Tuttle Spalding pathway in cooperation with our Pathways team in planning and development services. We've been working on this project for a few years, and this is the pathway that would connect a pathway system inside Spalding Ranch with a connection that would go behind Capitol High School and out to Milwaukee Street, and then you can bust over from Milwaukee Street to our Settlers Canal Path. And if you even want to continue out through your day, you can end up down at the Hyatt Lakes Reserve as well. So this is the epitome of really what that pathway system was supposed to do. And we're there now and moving forward with that. And that construction will start later this summer. So in the future, per your direction, Madam Mayor and council members, we'll continue to make investments across the city. And we'll continue to look at areas within the community that, where we have those 10-minute walk deserts, where we have a deficiency in just open space, where we can connect to either existing pathways or future pathways per the Pathways Master Plan. So we'll continue to invest in those neighborhoods. There is, as I mentioned previously, about $1 million. And I say approximately because I think somewhere around close to $700,000, but we have not completed the accounting to get back the residual from both the Peasley and the Settlers Canal projects, both which came in under budget. So we're going to get probably about $400,000 back from that. So it should be just over $1 million that will be left in the account. And again, as I already mentioned, that last bullet point, we'll continue to invest in neighborhoods, park access. That is our direction. And that'll be both in terms of land acquisition as well as improvement projects. And we're on the lookout on how we can acquire property in those 10-minute walk deserts that we have across the community. And of course, our big goal is recreational opportunities for everyone in our community. And we'll continue to look at that as future planning. I know that was really quick. I think we have provided, Madam Mayor and council members, a list of every project and every purchase. If that's not at your fingertips, we'll be happy to get that information to you. If you want to see every single land acquisition that's happened since 2001 or 2015, we have that readily available. It's also on our website as well, but we're happy to get that to you if you want to see that as well. I just didn't want to go through every single one of those. I wanted to highlight what has been occurring in these last 5 years.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Just for some comments. Thank you for the presentation, Doug. We appreciate it. I'll just read some comments I said at our last budget meeting. These levy funds, no council member other than the mayor were involved in that last time. So I've kind of taken those levy funds for granted, and I just expect them to be there when an opportunity to acquire property comes up. And that is a lever of power that I would like to maintain going forward, because it's within a city that's built out as much as ours is. Those opportunities sometimes can be few and far between, especially in the foothills, where a big opportunity arises and you don't want to miss it. I also, having some other conversations with Doug about acquisitions that have happened in the foothills, and him describing to me how maybe past councils have approached some of those decisions. I was surprised to hear that maybe they weren't as aggressive about acquiring foothills properties as I think we might be inclined to be today, as we've had access to these levy funds. So I'm also impressed. I mean, if you were to just tell me as a city council person, you give me $10 million, I mean, Doug knows this, we might be able to get you a pool. But when we talk about these levy funds, just showing all the things that we've been able to accomplish under the mayor's leadership, under Doug's leadership, all these acquisitions, all these improvements, with that money, we've really stretched those dollars so very far. And I would just signal my openness to recommendations from the mayor going forward on being able to sustain the type of good work we've been doing with past levy funds.
Madam Mayor. Doug, thank you so much for this presentation. I think sometimes, as Council President Nash mentioned, we do take it for granted that we've had these funds and we don't go back and take that look that you just showed us of here's what we've done with those funds. And I commend Parks and Rec for all the work that they've done and stretching those dollars. It's not just through cheap land acquisitions, it's through really working with people and developers, people wanting to donate land, and how do we squeeze the maximum out of that. And you know, without the mayor, we probably wouldn't be here today discussing these levy funds and the 1,900 acres we've secured. I think it's a great resource for us. I don't know what we're going to do going forward without them. And one comment I want to make is on the Peasley Street connection. I had an opportunity to go there this last weekend and talk to some really great people. It was so fun. One person that was just walking their bike down for the first time and asked about their experience. They said it was really good. They were a little nervous at first. Happened to see that same person after we rode bikes for a while, and they were taking their bike up the ramp too. So what a great connection, not just for recreation, but also for commuting. And another person who was walking their very heavy e-bike down and asked them how that experience was. And they said it was okay too. So really, really positive experience. It's a really great area. When you go up there, you see part of the park that's kind of a wetland experience you wouldn't see otherwise, and just really appreciate all the work Parks and Recs have done on that project and for all of them. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I would also, hi Doug, thank you for this presentation. It really is remarkable. I mean, 1,800 acres and 10,000 people with closer access is just really remarkable. I would also like to just encourage the city and the staff to continue to look at these creative funding mechanisms. It would be such a shame to see somebody, as we've heard, a lot of properties have come to us, people approach us, they're interested in sometimes even selling under market or making donation. And it would be really sad to see a property come and go because we don't have the funds to acquire it. And then to see it developed on our foothills or something like that. So I'm really grateful for all the work that was done and the great stewards that the staff was of this original levy funds, and look forward to seeing how we can figure out how to continue to fund at that same kind of capacity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Doug. And I want to thank everybody for your comments. You know, I am really impressed with all the city, and I should say the city, but also the community has been able to do with the last two levies. The willingness of Boiseans to pay for open space acquisition, clean water projects, and now pathways and parks throughout the city with levy funds signaled to the public and to potential landowners that our residents were willing to pay for it. They wanted to meet our residents part way. And so because of that, we were able to leverage so much more land than we would have otherwise because of the incredible amount of donations we've received from landowners because they saw what Boiseans were willing to do. And when I think about where we were back in 2000 when we were talking about this, I would say that the first levy and then the second levy exceeded our wildest expectations of what could be done with those funds. And in days and eras that we're in right now with regard to wildfire risk and the need to mitigate, kind of the foresight of Mayor Coles at the time and the community at the time to say, you know, we're going to start to protect this open space. We're going to protect our watersheds and viewsheds is helping us protect our communities at a time when we have more and more risk for wildfire. So look forward to the continued conversation. I hear from Boiseans all the time. They want us to continue this work and appreciate the suggestion that I bring forward, a recommendation for how we continue this work. And with that, thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Mayor.
And
Thank you,
next
Council.
up is wildfire preparation.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
would you indulge me for a personal privilege before?
of
Fire?
course.
Yeah. Just wanted to recognize my father who's in attendance with us today, former city council member of my hometown in New Albany, Indiana. He's visiting for the week and wanted to see a presentation about Float the Boise. We were just talking last night.
Oh, cool.
If he had gotten to do one more thing while I was here, it would have been floating the Boise.
Oh, it's not open yet.
Not open yet.
Gotta come a little later.
He's
Sorry.
here to air that grievance. But I just want to recognize him. Thank you for coming, and also let my kids know that they can do screens now.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
while Chief Nehmeyer is up here, I don't know if they need any more help clearing logs on the river. I don't know what the condition is currently, but maybe we can get them out there.
We could always use the help. Absolutely. Yeah. Madam Mayor, Council, good afternoon. I'm just going to give the quick intro to this and then really turn it over to the subject matter experts to give you the outlook. I kind of laughed when Doug said he was excited to be up here presenting. I don't know if I'm in that same boat with the outlook that we have, but we're going to navigate through it. Before I introduce Captain Kirkpac, I do want to acknowledge that Rachel Holford's in the room as well. If there's any questions that come up about evacuation planning, neighborhood planning, she's definitely our top SME, and so she can come up and answer those questions. So I'll just preface this a little bit. What you're going to see in this presentation and the outlook for 25 is a little bleak as far as the fuels and the heat. Right now we're under a heat dome. As you know, I actually got a call from a Southern California chief right before I walked in. And he just said, how are you guys doing? We see the heat dome, like the folks in California are looking at our heat dome right now, which I kind of laughed at. But the outlook might be a little bit bleak as far as the conditions that we expect to have happen. But I'm going to put the positive spin to it because that's what I do. I will tell you that the response that we anticipate is very well coordinated. So between Boise Fire, our local partners who have already done a lot of coordination, and then our federal partners with really predominantly BLM, I talked to their fire aviation chief last week. They're fully staffed, so they're prepared for the season with full staffing, which is great out of our federal partners. And then talking to Dustin Miller, who's the IDL director, IDL is actually fully staffed and have added some firefighters. So their capacity has grown a little bit too. So I think as much as the outlook may be a little bit unnerving, I think from a response standpoint, just know that we are ready and we'll be prepared for whatever may come. So with that, really honored to be able to introduce Captain Garrett Kirkpac. Garrett spent some time with the Forest Service before coming to us. We are really lucky to have him, quite honestly. His knowledge of wildfire, the way he engages our crews, they're all bought in. And really that knowledge and experience that we have in our fire department is second to none when it comes to how we prepare and really how we look at not just wildfire response, but mitigation work and community work. And so Garrett's going to give this presentation. I will say it's Garrett's first time presenting to council, so go easy on him or not. Take your pick. That's up to you. But with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Kirkpac. Thank you.
So thanks, Chief, Mayor, Council. It's great to meet you guys. Actually, in person, I met a couple of you previously, but it's cool to present to you guys today. So again, like Chief said, I'm going to cover kind of the outlook for wildfire, kind of nationally, here locally, and then what we're doing with all the pillars of things we work on to try and mitigate some of the issues we could have this summer. I think it's important anytime you kind of meet someone for the first time to get a quick bio of what they're about and kind of what they've done in their past. So you kind of have an idea where I'm coming from experience-wise. So again, this will be my 24th year in wildland fire. So I've been doing this for a minute. I was a hot shop for about 7 years, decided to pivot and jump out of airplanes for about 7 years. Then got into that kind of incident management team role. And then about 8 years ago, actually it's 8 months or 8 years next month, came over to BFD, rode backseat on the trucks for a couple of years, pivoted over into training, took over the wildland coordinator role in 2023, and then officially took over the wildfire captain role June of last year. So been in this for about a year now. Kind of give you a quick rundown of where the wildland division is currently. I'm kind of the only position actively sitting in there full time. My position sits basically with 3 pillars, as I like to call them, that we deal with on a daily basis. So that's going to be education. That's going to be both public and BFD related. So on the public side, I go to a lot of HOA meetings, any kind of outreach type stuff, our open houses that we're doing at the firehouses here in 2 weeks. And then the big one I'm doing is the Firewise coordinator. We currently have 16 of our neighborhoods are Firewise compliant, with 4 more that are actively trying to get in there. So as everyone's aware of, we had a big fire year here locally last year. And then also with all the stuff in SoCal in January, wildfires are on top of mind for a lot of people. So we've definitely seen a huge influx of community engagement on all things wildfire, which pivots me over into my mitigation roles. Currently have 2 full-time seasonals that are working for me for the summer. They're kind of jack of all trades. So they're doing home safety assessments for me. We've done almost 50 of those this year already, which is, I think, an all-time high for us this early in the year. We do a community chipper program. So every Monday we're going out to various Firewise communities typically, but some one-offs as well. And we're chipping where people have done their own Firewise mitigation, defensible space type stuff. We're coming in when they've done the sweat equity on the front end. We'll do it on the back end to get rid of the waste for them and chip it and take it out to forestry there at Dorman to be part of the composting system out there. We've already done 154 houses this year, which again is by far the most we've done, I think, in a spring session. We have one more year or a week left, and then we'll be shutting her down for the summer with it getting dry out there. And then the last thing we've been working on is the IDL grant. We pivoted all that money down out of the Stack Rock project that you guys approved here a little bit ago, a few months ago. And we put a bunch of money into Columbia Village there at Oregon Trail Reserve. We've put about 2 miles of fuel breaks in out there to try and give us some options as a fire department on places we could catch a fire in there, and then also create defensible spaces for the homes in that neighborhood there on Columbia Village. Got about a week left that we're going to try and get a little more work done in there, and then we're going to be pivoting, or actually pausing for the summer and then pivoting down onto the Surprise Valley side to do a similar project. And then as mentioned before, Rachel's been doing a ton of work on the warning alerts and evacuation planning. I sit in on a lot of those meetings, but that's definitely her piece over there working on that. And then lastly, I think this is, in my part, the coolest piece to this whole seat I get to sit in is the suppression piece. So this last year was the first year that my position has actually had an active suppression role within the city. So when we get fires of consequence, so anything on the edge of town above an acre or homes threatened, I will typically head that way to assist the BCs in some kind of middle management role. So on the incident management team side of the world, I'm division qualified. So I show up and help our local BCs out with middle management. So running a division, some kind of firing operations, stuff like that. So I was actually able to respond to every one of our major fires last year in Boise and help out on those, which is pretty cool. And then another piece that was kind of new to last year, I actually went out for a couple of days and helped the BLM on the paddock fire out north of Emmett. So it's the first time that we've sent a BFD single resource to a local BLM fire to kind of help them pay back the debt we owe them for all the times they've come into the city and helped us as well. So, and then I also went on a couple team assignments. I've been on an incident management team for about 8 years now. So got on large team fires. I went to Line Point, out in the Hell's Canyon, and the Wapiti that everyone's aware of as well. The last cool piece to this piece too is I get to kick out city resources to go to different incidents across the nation. So kind of rolls into my next piece. But last year we ended up sending out 4 brush rigs and 29 single resource assignments across the nation. We ended up going to 10 states. We did 557 shifts, basically out there assisting the nation at large. A lot of those assignments were here in the greater Idaho area, but like I said, we went to 10 different states. So that kind of covers my role in a real quick down and dirty manner. I think it's important to cover what happened last year so we can kind of talk about where we're potentially going this year. So last year, again, was a very busy year, both locally and nationwide. So we burned just under 9 million acres in the nation last year. And then if you look, the Great Basin area that we're in, so that's going to be southern Idaho, Utah, Nevada, and western Wyoming. We burned just over 1.2 million acres. Half of that was here locally in southern Idaho. So between the Payette, the Boise, and the Boise BLM, we burned about 600,000 acres. So it felt like the whole area was on fire most of the summer, and that's because it, for the most part, was. So again, covered the responses already. So where are we at for this year? The easiest summary would probably be very similar to last year. So this diagram that you're looking at here starts in the top left and kind of works its way clockwise. Kind of shows their predicted modeling for what the fire season is going to look like June through September. This model looks pretty similar to things did last year. So the way fire season works in the Western United States is it typically starts down the Southwest, Arizona, and New Mexico. And then as we work our way through summer, it works north. And then we finish up in the northern states come late August, early September. So that's kind of what they're showing here. The areas in red show areas they're concerned for significant fires, which means more fires than they normally get or larger fires than they normally get. So you can see for June, kind of eastern Washington is kind of the most locally significant area to us. But then as we move into July, August, and September, all of our local areas bright red. So again, very similar to last year. So some of the factors that determine this are listed here on this next sheet. It's going to be the winter and spring moisture amounts that we got. Everyone in this room is very aware we had a pretty wet winter, but down here in the valley, we didn't get a lot of snow. The snowpack is really what kind of compresses that old grass and sets us up to have less grass for next year. Because we didn't get much snow down here in the valley, most of last year's grass is still standing up tall. And now we've grown a bunch of new grass from that wet winter. So if you look at this diagram here, the bright green shows that we have a ton of grass. The red areas are actually areas that don't have a lot of grass. So green's not necessarily good in this particular picture. And we're actually bordering on like a darker blue here. So we have an abundant grass crop that everyone's aware of here currently. The summertime temperatures and then the relative humidity, so how much moisture is in the air. Our fuel type, being a very light, flashy fuel, is very affected by moisture in the air. We are a very dry climate, so typically when we get into July and August, we don't have a lot of moisture in the air, so all the moisture has been sucked out of the fuels here locally. And that's why our fires move so fast, especially when they have wind behind them. Another piece of this puzzle is going to be the lightning and the human starts. So as we know, we're getting bigger and busier here around the city, so we tend to get more human starts than we used to. But then we also have a decent chance for lightning this year, which I'll cover here on the next slide. The last piece of this puzzle that gets a little interesting is how many large fires do we have in the surrounding area? So Wildland Fire works on a 3-tiered dispatch system. You basically have local, regional, and then a national. So when you get a fire, you order resources locally, hopefully you can fill all the stuff you need. If you can't get it, it then gets bumped up to the regional level, and then it gets bumped up to national level. The problem you start to have like this, if you show those red areas where you have a bunch of regions that have a bunch of fires, is they're all fighting over those same resources. There's only so many resources in the United States. So like last year when we got super busy, all those big teams are having to wheel and deal to try and get the resources they need. So they're having to cut corners on the other resources. So you start running out of stuff, which makes new fires harder to catch because you just don't have as many resources as you did the day before. This slide right here shows the snowpack. So again, we had a great winter. If you went up to Bogus a bunch, you had a ton of snow. It was a great year for that. As of late March, we were sitting great on snowpack. Everything was looking great. For the high altitude fires weren't really showing us going to be a problem this year because we had a lot of snow. It was going to take a while for it to melt off. It's going to be a later in the season type problem. Once we got into April and May, it stayed warm. We didn't get a lot of new moisture. As you can see by late May, all the snowpacks actually in the greater Western United States are pretty low compared to a couple spots in Oregon is the only one still sitting at blue. So everyone melted off super quick. So now we have concerns for high elevation fires too. So all those timberlands, like treetop level and the Payette and stuff that we weren't concerned about 2 months ago are now back into being a concern as well. And then this one is covering kind of what the seasonal outlook looks like temperature and RH wise for the season. This is the one Chief was mentioning, kind of the part where people are concerned about is they're predicting basically to be seasonally hotter than normal and seasonally drier than normal. So again, very similar to what we did last year, right? We're going to hit this heat dome that we have right now, potentially kind of stay in this type flow basically through August. And then they're still unsure what September looks like for moisture. We typically start getting some fall moisture at that point, but they're not real sure that's going to show up again this year. So we might be having that longer duration fire season into September, early October. So kind of what are we doing about all this stuff? So again, we've already done our refreshers for the year. So all Boise Fire members are refreshed every year. They get 8 hours of wildland training standard. It's a national requirement for red cards. So they do 4 months of online training, and then we get them in person for a few hours in May and just kind of give them a good solid refresher on some stuff we're going to see throughout the season. Meanwhile, we're doing that, we're also having meetings with the BLM and some of our other cooperators, just kind of seeing where they're at for staffing. Like Chief mentioned, they're all sitting pretty heavy right now. They're actually able to hire more seasonal than they normally do. Just the way some of the stuff turned out with the Fed hiring, they're concerned they're going to be lower. Right now, they're actually sitting better than normal on their seasonals. Here in the city, we currently staff 7 brush rigs. We're actually getting an 8th in November, so it won't help us for this season, but for next season, that'll be another one we'll add into the mix. That'll be brush 13 out there at the new station when it opens. As you can see from this map, all the brush rigs kind of live on the outer ring of the city so that they're easily accessible to all our WUI areas. And then we also have 3 water tenders, and those are going to be stationed at Station 16, Station 15, and Station 14. Again, kind of building a triangle across the valley to be able to hit all the different areas where we might get a brush fire. All of those brush rigs and the water tenders are cross-staffed, so they're always staffed up, and then that crew, depending on what the call is, chooses which vehicle they need to take. So if it makes sense to take the brush rig, they'll grab the brush rig, otherwise they'll take the structure engine. If needed during the course of the summer, if we have red flag days, so typically those consist of high winds, low RHs, and high temperatures or dry lightning, we potentially, if the chief seen fit, can hire up extra staffing so that we can staff those brush rigs separately. So we have additional forces in the city system without taxing basically the city. If we get a valley fire or something like that, we're not shorting the rest of the city response to be able to go to those wildfires.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
quick question on that,
Yeah.
Captain. how many extra staff does it take to get that second rig? So when we talk about like 3-person, 4-person staffing, how many are you taking the main engine truck, and then how many are taking the brush rig?
So when we do the additional staffing, we try and do a minimum of 3 people to fill that brush rig. And then typically when the full crew goes, unless they're at a station with a water tender, typically all will respond normally with the brush rig. It's a great question though. And then also listed on there is all our mutual aid players. We use all these people a ton. Again, like we talked about, we can typically catch most of our AAs small with our own people, but as we start to get plex fires, valley fires, that kind of stuff that grow faster than we can get around them, we need those additional resources. So we have to draw from other resources in the valley to be able to help catch those. And then likewise, when Eagle has fires or BLM has fires, we try and send them resources as needed to try and work together as a group to be able to cover all our issues. And then down there at the bottom, we also have air assets. So air can be a real key to catching fires, especially in our type of fuels. So these are typically national resources, so they don't necessarily sit right here in Boise all the time. But if needed, like on the Valley fire, they can fly in and start helping us. Kind of the interesting thing with air resources, because they're very short amount of them, is it's very situational dependent on whether you get them or not. So first day of the Plex fire, pretty much right out of town, but it wasn't blowing towards town. We didn't have structures threatened. We had all those big fires up on the Boise. All the retardant planes were flying over our fire to go work up on the Boise. And then a month later, when we had the Valley and it was threatening town, then basically all those fires that had air tankers ended up pivoting them over to us so we could use them to catch our fire here in the foothills. So it's a give and take as you kind of work through the summer to cover all these things. Super quick, down and dirty. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Yes, Kathy.
Madam Mayor, Captain Kurbach, thank you so much for this information. It's really helpful to know. Well, it's a little sad to see how much red we're going to look at this summer, but it's good to know what resources we have and where they're at. The one question I had, and I don't expect it to be answered today, is if it would be possible to get a report from maybe last year from fiscal, or just for last summer, how many times the water tankers from the stations went out and the brush rigs, so we can see what does that volume look like. I think it would be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We can definitely get you those numbers.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, just comment and thank you. You mentioned the work in Columbia Village and the Oregon Trail Historic Reserve, which if you haven't visited, beautiful property of open space with a lot of historical significance as well for early settlers in this valley. But yeah, this was an area with, I think you had said in a prior report, one of the oldest stands of sagebrush kind of in city limits. And so very beautiful, but also very dangerous. And so thank you for all the work that you've been doing, cutting that, I think about 10-yard fire break between the historic reserve and the neighborhood. And it's important because I think I recall an early 2000, mid 2000 fire down below in Surprise Valley that got mopped up really quick, but in the wrong conditions, that could be dangerous. So appreciate all the prevention work that you're putting in and getting all that stuff cleared out. And really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. No, that was a fun project to work on. It was cool to see people's interest in both that we're trying to build defensible space, but then also create options to save the sage. So it's kind of a two-sided deal there.
All right. Thanks so much. Really appreciate the overview. Good to see you. We're going to take a break because we're way ahead of schedule and our next presenter isn't here yet. Oh, never mind. She's here. Next up, we have an update from Arts and History with Jennifer Stevens. Welcome.
You guys are going to have a nice long dinner.
Without food.
Oh. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me. Give me a second to catch my
take your
breath.
time. You're fine.
40 minutes early. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Jennifer Stevens, Director of Arts and History. I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to provide this update. It's been not too long since I've seen you, but a lot of things are changing physically in the city of Boise, and I wanted to give you a bit of an update on where we are. You may recall when I first started in this position almost 3 years ago now, I came to you and shared with you the vision of complicating Boise's history. And what I meant by that was providing more visibility to pieces of our city's story that are a little less well known. Excuse me. Another goal had been from the beginning to improve and extend our partnerships, both within the organization as well as outside of it, and to provide professional development and paid opportunities to emerging professionals in the arts and humanities as part of Boise's workforce development efforts. So a lot of the work that we've done over the past few years has been accomplished with these goals in mind. It has been a busy couple of years, and the fruits of our labors team are gradually becoming visible across the city. So the work I'm going to share with you today represents those partnerships across the city, including internally with our peers in Parks and Recreation, the library, and Public Works, as well as externally with colleagues at CCDC, the Shoshone-Bannock Northern Paiute Tribes, and many other community partners such as the Wasmus Center, Boise State University, and our deaf and hard of hearing community. It's hot off the printer, so trying to find out where I am. So everybody who has come downtown in the last few years knows a lot has been going on. Downtown has really been transformed, particularly through the transformation of Grove Street, all the way from 3rd Street over on the east to 16th Street on the west. Our team in arts and history has really been instrumental in the placemaking along these blocks. The overall goal has been to program the spaces in ways that will activate them, engage the pedestrian, and provide opportunities for both professional and emerging artists. On the linen blocks, which is sort of the name that we give casually and sort of formally on the west side from 10th to 16th Street, our team has worked closely with CCDC on several placemaking efforts that you see listed here. Neon Grove, of course, is one of the first, and it represented a public-private partnership where arts and history accepted privately owned historical artifacts into the city's collection and committed to care for them, put them on display, and tell the story of their significance to Boise's history. We did this, of course, with the help of CCDC and with the sign owner, Vanjie Osborne, and her nonprofit Signs of Our Times. Now, the linen fence rotation you've heard about before, so that's not new. And you may not know that it's an annual opportunity that changes out every spring. The exciting change here, though, is that we were looking for opportunities for more visibility of the collection, and also, again, partnerships with our internal peers. So what we've done is we've arranged for the artworks that are hung on the linen fence, once they're deinstalled each spring, to start rotating through the library. This accomplishes two things: more visibility for the artist and the collection, as well as greater activation of library space. The latest installation, which is shown, I don't know if this is a pointer or not. I'm not gonna chance it, but in the lower middle image there, you can see our latest artist, Elizabeth Hilton, standing with the chickens, which are beautiful, made out of newsprint, and a beautiful series of chickens. I happen to be a bird nerd myself, so I'm particularly excited about this. It's called The Walk Home from Work. And once those are out, they will go into the library, and people will be able to see them there if they've missed them on Grove Street. The other work that we've done in the linen blocks are the art ports. The art ports, for those of you who are unfamiliar with that term, I certainly was a couple years back. It's a new program in the last 18 months, and ports are essentially pedestals for sculptures and can be changed out with new work. So it's not a permanent installation, it's something that can rotate. Our public art manager, Stephanie Johnson, determined that these ports were a really excellent opportunity to do a couple of things. First, by allowing Public Works, public art coordinator, to program these, the city can use sculpture to draw attention to its climate action roadmap and other natural resource goals. Second, we can efficiently use our Percent for Art budget here to program these art ports through partnership with Boise State School of the Arts. Each spring for the past 2 years, we have worked in and with Professor Lily Lee's sculpture class to train art students in the process of responding to a call for public art, which is not an easy process, regardless of whether it's a traffic box or it's a pink tree. And then in the process of that, we've awarded one student each spring the opportunity for their sculpture to be installed for a 2-year period in one of these art ports. The program, of course, has been made possible with support too from CCDC's Rebuild Linen Blocks on Grove Street. On the lower right here, you can see last year's winner, or our artist that got selected. Her name is Serena Allen Zakowski, and her sculpture is called Reclaimed Majesty. It's sitting outside the the Modern Hotel. And then on the left in big screen or big picture is One Man's Trash by Grace Ott. And both of these sculptures are made entirely from recycled materials.
I just got a question about
Of
them.
course.
How often do you anticipate they're rotating? Is the one that I've seen, the fox one on the bottom, still there, or has that been replaced by the bird one?
So each of these is in for 2 years and they're on an
Years, okay.
alternate schedule. So the fox or the Reclaimed Majesty will trade out next year, whereas the hawk that just got put in about a month ago will be there for 2 years.
Great.
So
Thanks.
that's how it works.
Yep.
So moving east to the Old Boise block section of Grove Street, our team has also been busy. The work has involved the same list of partners, as well as offering opportunities for both experienced artists as well as emerging ones. The Grove Street Story Walk is brand new, and it begins at 4th and Grove Streets and takes visitors on a walk through Boise's history, as seen through the buildings and the people who have occupied Grove Street over the years. It's an installation of 16 interpretive signs, starting with one that was created by and highlighting the history of Boise's indigenous peoples. And on the far end, on the far west end, it ends with the modern era of Grove Street that includes information about the revitalization of these blocks. Along the way, as people are walking and seeing those signs, visitors will see medallions in the sidewalk that are known as Crossroads of Boise by artist Mungo Lagoya. This is one of those emerging artist opportunities that we provided. His art represents national flowers from 5 of the many immigrant groups that have settled on Grove Street over the years: the Basque Country, China, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Japan, and Mexico. They will also, visitors that is, see a new sculpture called Clepsydra, and you can see that in the upper right corner here. This is by artist Bobby Zakaitis, adjacent to the C.W. Moore Park's water wheel. Try saying that a few times in a row. And this particular piece of art also honors the history of immigrant groups, including different groups this time from Russia, Germany, Japan, China, and the Basque Country and Sweden. This particular piece of art also offers a nod to the history of irrigation in this area and the significance of water to Boise's history over time. Something exciting, and I know several of you were there this morning, signage was planned at C.W. Moore Park back when that park was first created in the 1970s to help people identify what those artifacts are and recognize what they're looking at. It took until just this last couple of months to get those signs actually installed, and we've got plaques now that help people identify what they're looking at. Certainly not least, but last in this list is Kaisho Corner. This is a park that we've worked obviously we've worked very closely with parks on this art, and this will be a gathering place for many years to come. It will immerse visitors in public art by Wamong Yu and Louis Chin that celebrates moments in Boise's immigration history to date and reflects the history of Boise's values and the people here through a couple of different pieces of art. There's 4 pieces that are part of this park. And what's really interesting about how we worked with parks on this one is that they brought us in the design phase of this particular site. And what that means is that the art is going to be part of and integrated to the site, as opposed to what you sometimes see in other places, and we're trying to move away from a site where somebody just kind of points to a corner and says, let's put a piece of art there, frequently referred to in the art world as plop art. And so what we've done with Kaisho Corner is really use art to create the space. And that's been a really great partnership with parks and of course with CCDC as well. There have been a lot of artworks that have happened outside of Grove Street as well. We've really tried to diversify the kind of art that we are commissioning. Some installations, such as Kaisho Corner and Gentle Breeze, otherwise known as Pink Tree at Cherie Buckner Webb Park, those pieces will remain in place for many years to come, if not decades. But the art of activating space often succeeds best with rotations and temporary installations. And so we are trying to ensure a wide variety of installations in different mediums, not just murals and sculptures, but things like the sidewalk medallions, asphalt art, and projection art, which you see on the screen. Our most recent experiment with temporary exhibitions was the Depot projection art, which ran for 4 days during the Depot 100 celebration. It was titled Voyaging in Defense of Slow Travel by Annika Kalak and Will Miller. Each night featured a different projection, lit up the depot with ideas and concepts related to transportation and looking into the future and featuring some whimsical ideas about that. It really brought the community together to view something different and special on what is obviously Boise's most iconic building. Meanwhile, America 250, the celebration that we'll have starting in January, has inspired some other art as well. We have mural pairs that are being rotated every 6 months at the Heyman House in the main library. There are 6 different artists that were chosen to respond to a prompt related to the America 250 theme of We the People. On the left here, you see I think it's Miguel Almeida, if I'm not mistaken, one of the 2 murals that he had. And on the right, you see Gracio Baracas, and those are up currently. The one on the right, Gracio Baracas are. And then finally, Bobby Gaitan, another artist, a local artist, completed the flowers for JJ Saldana mural in the alley between Idaho and Bannock Streets on Capitol Boulevard. That, of course, honors an impactful activist in our community who fought for Latinx rights, as well as serving on the City Arts and History Commission. Lest we rest on our laurels, we do have a few other projects coming up as well. We've got 4 new pieces, each representative of both partnerships as well as diversity of opportunity. Confluence, which is the first listed here, but not the thing shown on the screen, will be a unique piece because it's not done yet. I don't have a picture, but it is also accomplished through partnerships with parks as well as public works. It's going to be an asphalt mural by mural artist Andy Kelly, and it will be on the green belt. It's going to serve to calm traffic at the Warm Springs Golf Course because the new clubhouse is on the river side of the green belt. But the mural itself is going to work to convey the significance of Boise's geothermal system, which, as you all know, is the largest in the country, serving 90 buildings and really helping Boise reach some of its climate goals. What you see on the screen is a photo that was taken just Friday. This is one of our newest artworks called Passage. This is at Redwood Park on the West Bench, and this began as an Energize Our Neighborhoods grant. In the meantime, it's been augmented by dollars from the Percent for Art Fund, as well as a lot of human resources from the public art team that has run the public selection process and actually worked really hard to get this installed last week as well, in order to debut it at the You Stick and Bloom Festival on Saturday. And then the last thing that actually 2 more things on this slide that I'll point out. In August at the Irma Heyman House, we will be displaying our very first juried exhibition. And this is going to display the works of 8 local artists who responded to another America 250 prompt that's related to the, quote, American experiment theme. So in this particular case, we asked artists to respond to some of the tensions that are inherent in America's core values. Think about embracing tradition while we also seek the comfort of assimilation, or think about the power or the independent individual as opposed to the power of the collective. So this juried art show will be on display from August until December, and we will be accessioning at least one of the pieces in that exhibition into the public art collection permanently. And last but not least, of course, we will be debuting the airport vinyl mural next year in 2026. If I am not mistaken, Councilwoman Corliss is on that selection panel, and we're so grateful for your service. Thank you. We are in the midst of making that selection right now. I think that there was a panel yesterday, and so we're really excited to see how that develops. Moving on to public programming, over the last 3 years, we have really aimed to make Arts and Histories programming more regular, more predictable for the community, and to create more offerings that help people really understand this place of Boise. So this summer, we are redoing City Steps. We started that program last year. It was very successful. And we're debuting some new ones this year as, again, we build up to the America 250. We're currently in the middle of session 1. We're doing it a little bit differently this year. Last year, we did all of them over the course of 12 weeks, but we experienced some challenges with regard to smoke and heat, and we had to cancel some. So this year, we're doing it in 2 separate sessions. The second session is when we'll be debuting some new tours. One is going to be the history of Boise's Chinatown, and one is going to be a guided tour of Grove Street. That second session begins in mid-August and runs through early October. Additionally, we're doing some new programming at the 2 historic house museums that we have, the James Castle House and the Irma Hayman House. We want to make sure that our residents are aware that our 2 museums are their spaces to experience and to learn. Yes, of course, they serve as museums that provoke thought, contemplation, display art and history exhibitions, but they're also public spaces that belong to our residents. In that vein, we're excited to say that, or to let you know, that the mobile market, which is a partnership with City of Good and the Boise Farmers Market, will begin a weekly stop at the Hayman House this week. We're very excited about that. We also have several regularly scheduled series that we have added to our core programming in order to provide new opportunities to our residents across the age spectrum. We're really focused on trying to reach our youth and be very intentional about the kind of programming that we do to reach different residents. So, of course, we've had many programs associated with the Artist in Residence program at the Castle House, but now we're doing something called the Be a Maker series at the Castle House and at the library locations. That's a program that aims to reach younger Boiseans. We're also doing an annual community celebration with the Idaho Council for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And we are also doing something new called Coffee with Castle, which will debut at the Senior Center this fall. At the Irma Hayman House, we're doing similar things. We debuted the Hayman House Youth Day earlier this spring. We organized the 2nd annual Living Legacies event in March for Women's History Month, and we're launching tonight, in fact, evenings at Irma's. This series is inspired by Irma Hayman and her legacy of bringing people together. Tonight's partner is Boise Hive, which is a safe, all-ages organization that supports Boise's creative music economy. And they're going to be sharing tonight a taste of their Rap America project, an immersive workshop in music production, songwriting, and performance. And I would be remiss not to mention that this Saturday is our first annual Taste of River Street. This is an event that's going to feature delicious food created by Boise's own kin and inspired by the River Street neighborhood. Other public programming continues, such as our writer in residence workshops with the library and the cabin, and a variety of professional development series that we put under the title of Level Up. I want to just briefly move on to the archives and give you an update there. You may recall that last year, as part of the budget process, City Council and the mayor approved some budget for doing a consolidation of our Active Records Center together with our archives. I just want to let you know that our partnership with the city clerk has been excellent in this regard. They are on target to meet the date of completing this by the end of fiscal year 25. In fact, it'll probably be more like this summer. You can see here on the screen that new modern shelving has been installed. We have moved nearly everything from the old archives over to this space. And we're really looking to open this up to staff first and then the public eventually. We'll have workstations there and some opportunities for people to access old and historic city records. The next steps include the identification of historical materials that are still held in the active records area and move them over to the archives for public use. In addition to that, we do continue to collect oral histories for use in exhibits from both people that are officials in the city as well as community members. And that we hope that over the next year to 18 months to work on a new community collection that is focused on Boise's many refugee communities that have settled here since the 1970s. We hope to highlight their contributions to Boise, the ways that they've maintained and contributed their cultures, and hear their stories. So stay tuned on that as we work with the mayor's office, the director of community partnerships there, and other staff teams to identify the best path forward for that. And then finally, I just want to highlight our current exhibitions. We have 2 exhibitions on right now. The first is at the James Castle House, which is a partnership with the Historic Artist Homes and Studios. That's a national organization. And essentially where art begins, this exhibition is appropriately an exhibition about artists in their homes and studios and where they make their work. So it's appropriate and very interesting to see other artists nationally known, just like James Castle, in the spaces that they work and where they did their art. At the Heyman House right now, just a couple of weeks ago, the mayor came on the night that it opened. We are partnering with the Wassmuth Center and the Albertsons Library at Boise State for Speaking Volumes, Transforming Hate. It's a very powerful exhibit. I strongly urge you to come down and have a look at that if you have the opportunity. We're very excited to welcome international members from the Urban Land Institute who are coming for a conference on June 19th, and we're going to be sharing this powerful exhibit with them, providing some context about Irma Heyman and giving them a bit of a tour of the River Street neighborhood. We are programmed in terms of our exhibitions through the end of 2026. I won't go through exactly what they are. You can read them on the screen. But we are in the midst of planning all of those things and excited about getting them out as part of the celebration. One final thing I want to bring attention to, because maybe you're wondering, we conducted a cultural survey back in November, and we followed that up with 9 listening sessions this spring. Our cultural planner has been hard at work with our comms team to compile all of that data, and we will be presenting it publicly in a few sessions in July. Additionally, of course, the data that we collect and the information that we gathered from the community will be utilized for creating the city's updated cultural plan and creative economy master plan by the end of this calendar year. So thank you very much for the opportunity to give you a bit of an update on the department, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Yeah, Madam Mayor. Yeah, Jennifer, thank you so much. The amount of projects that you and your team have done over the past couple of years really been amazing. Some of the most outstanding artwork I've seen downtown. I love the Neon Museum. I had a chance to see that. I love how it came together, not just the signs, but the thought and the intent to put out the placards and where it was at in the city, and kind of had a fun time. Like, I recognize a sign, but I can't remember where it was at. One of the areas I just asked for consideration is, West Boise. I mean, most of what we've heard today is all downtown and in the downtown corridors. I think I would like to see if we have a plan, even in District 3, where's that next artwork going to go out there? I think we have some really great areas. I mean, I think partnership with like Molinar Park, Philippi Park. We have an area at Overland and Cole. It's just a huge traffic area, and there's really nothing to look at in that area. So just some thoughts there. I appreciate the work that you guys do. It is absolutely amazing. The mural and what was done for the Depot's 100th year anniversary was stunning. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilwoman Corliss. I just want to respond really briefly. Thank you so much for the recommendations. One of the things that our team is actually working on right now is a general fund public art plan, because we have an airport plan and we have a public works plan, but we've never created a plan for how we make decisions about where we put the art with the general fund dollars. And so we actually are working on that actively right now. I expect a draft in my box by the end of July. And we will, of course, be bringing that in front of council as well. So yeah, we'd love your input.
Well, I'll say a couple things. Thanks for the presentation. I did want to point out, Councilmember Corliss, too, agreed with your assessment that it'd be wonderful to have art throughout the city. I think that the Redwood Park installation is a great example where a neighborhood association applied for a grant to have art in their park. So all those places that you mentioned would be wonderful opportunities for neighborhood associations to consider making requests and then seeing if over time we can make something happen there. But I also wanted to just call out a couple things. I did a portion of the walk on Grove today. It looks great. It's been fun to see that progress. And with the depot work, the depot celebration in general was so well done. It was a partnership, of course, with the Parks Department. But that temporary art installation the one every night for, was it 4 nights?
Yes.
It was really spectacular, not just in the composition, but in how it pulled people together and created shared experiences for folks. And this temporary piece was really made possible because the council was willing to look at what we considered art and how we would keep it in the long run in the collection and archive in the collection. So instead of just like plopping something somewhere, we could do something that would be temporary, that would be community building, and then this is online and is in our archives, in our collection. And so as we look at both public works and airport, like the big opportunities for a lot of art, I hope to see opportunities for temporary installations, community engagement, yes, and then also showcase pieces like we're seeing with the Pink Tree, and whatever the name of the installation in Kaisho Corner will be. So look forward to seeing all that. And then I just want to say, I know that the ULI National Conference coming really appreciates the support and partnership and the effort you put into that. And council, if you haven't visited the Irma Heyman House with the new installation, I'd really encourage you to do so. It's super, super powerful. So thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. We're going to break for dinner, ahead of dinner, because we don't have an executive session, do we? Nope. And we will be back at 6 o'clock, everybody.